opener here to the double header. Steve Folkes takes it ahead, about 11 metres out from the St George line. Billy Johnston dummy half, the dummy open side, and he scurries back to the blind, but he's held by Chris Walsh, and the captain Anderson goes in now. Peter Kelly met and pulled down by Jarvis and Craig Young. Steve Mortimer lurking behind the play the ball. That's him with it now. Now Terry Lamb. And the ball has gone astray. Michael Beattie picks up the loose ball. He gives it out to Mike O'Connor. He's got speed to burn O'Connor. They won't catch him. He's racing home. Michael O'Connor scores for the Saints. 4 minutes of the match gone. A loose pass from Terry Lamb. Scooped up by Michael Beattie into attack, but...
Well, we mentioned earlier in the call that Steve Mortimer could well use the chip kick to break up the St George defence, and Brian Johnson saved a potentially dangerous situation there for St George.
Mike O'Connor stepping around Farah, stands in the tackle of Lease, gets it to Haddock, switches it back to Jarvis. Now it's with Brian Johnston. He'll make a long run. He's made 25, picked up Perry Haddock, and he's covered by the left flanker for Canterbury, Kevin Pobji, tackling on the right wing.
We can see now as the teams get tired, the game's starting to open up.
And Johnson to Beattie, now to O'Connor, gets inside, Burns inside the 22, out to Graham Wynn. Graham Wynn has taken the corner post. No tries, is the referee. Beautiful piece of passing by the Saints, right across the ground. Rogers, Johnson, Beattie, and then Mike O'Connor got between the centres before giving it to Graham Wynn. And there was no doubt that Wynn just took that corner post. As St George now turn it on again. Beattie away to Haddock, and Haddock is tackled 9 metres out from the Canterbury line. St George leading by 6. Out to Rogers. Now it's to Jarvis. Jarvis holds up the pass. He steamrolls across the top of Terry Lamb before he's being tackled by Andrew Farah. Off goes Jones from dummy half. He's held about 2 metres out from the Canterbury line. Craig Young, he'll go himself, the big man. He's barged over towards the goal post, but he's only a matter of 6 inches short. Very close, Craig Young. Jones, the dummy half, spun out to Haddock, gets a pass away, and a nice sandwich tackle stops the progress of Mike O'Connor. 5 gone for the Dragons. It's with Chris Walsh. Gets a pass, oh, beautifully round the corner for Michael Beattie to score. Well, what a pass by Chris Walsh. And St George. It's a late night program, but we'll be looking at all the matches played the previous weekend, so if your team isn't on television in the NEC big game, you'll see some of the highlights of their match during our Tuesday night show, starting Tuesday week. And there's the siren. The first half is over, and Terry Lamb and Perry Haddock. They heard the siren. The first half is over for the rest of the players, but not for them. And the 2 little men giving vent to their feelings as it's all... Well, they've lost not only a great midfield general in Steve Rogers, but they've also lost a magnificent defender all across the ground, but particularly he had that ability to smother Mortimer and Lamb up consistently in the first half. Oh, great bounce for Mortimer, back to his brother Chris, over halfway, then Chris Anderson is blotted out by Brian Johnston, and he had to be, because Canterbury were brewing up, and they're still doing it. Tunks is taken by Michael Beattie. Billy Johnston, dummy half. Steve Mortimer, Terry Lamb, run around for Mortimer. The grub kick through, off the ankles of Haddock, picked up by O'Connor. And he's held back on the St George 22, and here's a penalty. A penalty will go to Saints against Steve Mortimer. Well, he went in late.
Came very closely in this half. He's steaming onto the ball.
Plays it back now for Jones to give it to Haddock. Now Beattie, now O'Connor, O'Grady, knocked down, 6 more. Picked up by Beattie, spread back to O'Connor. They've lost a lot of ground, but now they're going ahead. Kick ahead by O'Connor. He might get a bounce. He doesn't need the bounce, I don't think. Oh, did he get it down? No. He's taken the corner post with him. But wasn't it quick thinking by Michael O'Connor? Here's the start of our National Panasonic Cup for 1984. Balmain versus Cronulla Sutherland. The Tigers and the Sharks. Johnson getting rid of Jones, giving it to Leash, ducking under one, popping a ball for Burns. Out the back it goes for Tunks. Tunks goes ahead, outside 32, picks up Lamb, back for Tunks. Tunks is tackled 5 metres from the halfway, and they're starting to put it together, the Dogs. 5 tackles gone for them. Stevie Mortimer kicks it off for the touchline. Johnson's got it covered. Nicely taken in by the St George fullback. Outside the 22, immediately retaliates with the kick. And Chris Mortimer's got it covered. He's 15 out from his own line. Beats Beattie. Over the top of Guerin. Bumps off Johnston. Good strong run by Chris Mortimer. Away goes Farah now. Farah hits it away from dummy half. 5 metres into St George's territory. Playing it back to Mark Bugden. On for Billy Johnston. Mortimer to Folkes. Folkes taken by Horwood. Good front on tackle. Played back again for Bugden. They're into Saints area now. Gould comes blind. Now it's Leash. Leash has made a gain of about 5 metres. Dummy half again is Bugden. Gould wants it to the left. That's him now in 16. This is Steve Mortimer. The grub kick through. Lamb's going after it. Little knock on, I thought. Yes, it's a knock on in a scrum. 33 metres out from the St George line. Let's check the timepiece. 23 minutes to go. Saints leading 10-0. Scrums 5-3 to Canterbury. Penalties are 9-9. Scrum won by Canterbury. Lease taken in by O'Grady. Played back to Gould and given to Mortimer. Now to Lamb. This man is Farah. Cut out pass over the head of Chris Mortimer. Picked up by Burns. Gone to the winger Pobji. He's tackled just outside the 22 line. Canterbury Bankstown with a big job in front of them. 22.5 minutes, down 10 points to 0. Mortimer stands in the St George hooker's tackle, gets the pass away to Lamb. Lamb wedges infield, picks up Captain Anderson. He's tackled 9 metres out from the St George line. Right in centre ground from Lamb. Out it comes to Bugden. Bugden taken by Horwood and by Johnson, the fullback. And he's about to play the ball. Still 9 out from the St George line. Anderson, Gould, infield pass for Burns. Taken by Perry Haddock and Brian Johnson. Just 2 metres away. Last tackle. Tunks goes from dummy half. I'd say that's a try. Yes, that's a try for Peter Tunks. St George finally compounding. Finally succumbing to the Canterbury attack. This line of his put down right on the halfway mark. It's with Horwood, taken by Gould. Quite a few players out there on both sides, I suppose. When you think of Graham O'Grady being in the St George side now, that played with Warren Ryan in that good Newtown side. Well, there's a complete misunderstanding from St George. Players running as decoys. I think you'd agree with me, Bill, as a coach, even if you're running as a decoy, you've got to be ready to take that ball.
Certainly have.
And here's Canterbury with Mr. Magic getting a pass inside for Terry Lamb, and he may have lost it. He had it between his legs, and I think Graham O'Grady has snatched it up for St George. He has. Jones. Morris holding it back beautifully, sending O'Connor on a good run down the right flank. Morris is backing him up. O'Connor kicks ahead. He'll get there first, I think. Yes! That's a try! His second of the match. Scored by Mike O'Connor. Well, how good is he, this kid? How good is he? Action committee comprised of Messrs Jarvis and Jones. Lamb to Mortimer. Long ball, cutting out 2, left on the ground. Oh, Mike O'Connor was there, waiting for it like a vulture. Picked up by Farah, given off to Gould. Gould steps, straightens, but runs into Jarvis and Morris. Mortimer, again away from dummy half, turns it back to the man who played it. Gould gets the arms free, turns it to Tunks, and Tunks offloads the ball, handed it to Mortimer. Mortimer makes a scurry, gets it to Folkes, lost. And now Jones, O'Grady.
Sunday we present for you the Manly Canterbury game as Jones gets away from dummy half, still going over halfway, gets it onto Gearan. Could be a try coming. He's floated a magic ball inside to Horwood. Horwood's away from a high tackle. Now he's put down 7 metres out from the Canterbury line. That's the turnover, and Canterbury come up with it.
And that long break for St George all started with some very sloppy marker defence by 2 Canterbury players.
In favour of the St George side. Many were in New South Wales down there at Wollongong Showground and Vikings Park Saturday and Sunday of this weekend. Great young footballers of the future.
And speaking about young, what about that run from Craig Young?
I did indeed use the right word at the right time. He's had a whale of a game, Craig Young. Now it's out to Haddock. He goes for a pot shot, a drop goal. Martin Weeks shades his eyes to check it. He says, all clear here. Another point to the Dragons. 17 points. A couple of very strong displays this year after Canterbury lost Peter Mortimer. Jarvis taken by Robinson. Playing out on the 22 line, St George's end of the ground, but there's no worries for St George now. Everything is safely parcelled up for them. 17-4 and 3 tries to 1. Walsh hit with a shoulder charge from Folkes. Speared back for Johnson. Steps around Tunks and sends it straight to the waiting arms of Chris Mortimer. Tackled by Michael O'Connor. Burns again. Steve Mortimer. David Burns. Peter Tunks. Picked up on the second bounce by Gould. Gould is away from Haddock. He puts the kick up. And the chase is on. O'Grady. Oh, bad bounce for the Saints. Lamb has it for Canterbury. He's in. It's a try. Scored by Terry Lamb. 17 points to 8. But Lamb plummeted in for the Canterbury try. And he's missed the attempted conversion from right in front. Couldn't have had an easier shot. But Terry has missed it. And St George leading by 17 points to 8. This was how it came head-on for Canterbury. The kick by Gould. And this bounce was a shocker for Graham O'Grady and Brian Johnston. See it again. It lands on its point and just goes zonk straight back over their heads. And then Terry Lamb, following through with strength, was able to shrug off Brian Johnson and go in for the try. So 17 points to 8. And we're in the last 35 seconds of it now. Mortimer, Gould, Chris Mortimer. We'll take you to the dressing rooms after this match tonight for the announcement of the man of the match. NEC and Electronic Sales and Rentals giving the $500 cash to our man of the match, or men of the matches through 1984. Quick passing by Canterbury to Steve Folkes. There's the crowd counting down the seconds. The referee acknowledges receipt and calls a halt to the second of the double-header nights at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Tonight, I suppose, could be termed the night the outsiders both got up. Balmain the early, St George the late. St George defeating Canterbury 17-8, picking up where they left off in their trial win over Canterbury a few weeks back. Mike O'Connor 2 tries, Mike Beattie the other. Rogers kicked 1 before he left at half-time. Gearan kicked 1. Perry Haddock a drop goal. And for Canterbury, Tunks and Lamb both scored tries for Canterbury. So, the Dragons